We need you to get this right. And what's more, you set an example for those who seek a peace of their own. Because beyond these shores, right now, in scattered corners of the world, there are people living in the grip of conflict, ethnic conflict. Religious conflict, tribal conflicts, and they know something better is out there. And they're groping to find a way to discover how to move beyond the heavy hand of history. To put aside the violence. They're studying what you're doing. And they're wondering, perhaps if Northern Ireland can achieve peace. We can, too. You're their blueprint to follow. You're their proof of what is possible because hope is contagious. They're watching to see what you do next. Now, some of that is up to your leaders. As someone who knows firsthand how politics can encourage division and discourage cooperation. I admire the Northern Ireland Executive and the Northern Ireland Assembly all the more for making power-sharing work. That's not easy to do. It requires compromise, and it requires absorbing some pain from your own side. I applaud them for taking responsibility for law enforcement and for justice. And I commend their effort to building a united community, important next steps along your transformational journey. Because issues like segregated schools and housing, lack of jobs and opportunity, symbols of history that are a source of pride for some and pain for others. These are not tangential to peace, they're essential to it. If towns remain divided, if Catholics have their schools and buildings, and Protestants have theirs, if we can't see ourselves in one another, If fear or resentment are allowed to harden, that encourages division. It discourages cooperation. Ultimately, peace is just not about politics. It's about attitudes, about a sense of empathy. About breaking down the divisions that we create for ourselves in our own minds and our own hearts that don't exist in any objective reality. But that we carry with us generation after generation. And I know, because America, we, too, have had to work hard over the decades, slowly. Gradually, sometimes painfully, in fits and starts, to keep perfecting our union. "150 years ago, we were torn open by a terrible conflict. Our civil war was far shorter than the Troubles, but it killed hundreds of thousands of our people. And, of course, the legacy of slavery endured for generations. Even a century after we achieved our own peace, we were not fully united. When I was a boy, many cities still had separate drinking. Fountains and lunch counters and washrooms for blacks and whites. My own parents' marriage would have been illegal in certain states. And someone who looked like me often had a hard time casting a ballot, much less being on a ballot. But over time, laws changed, and hearts and minds changed. Sometimes driven by courageous lawmakers, but more often driven by committed citizens. Politicians oftentimes follow rather than lead. And so, especially young people help to push and to prod and to protest. and to make common cause with those who did not look like them. And that transformed America so that Malia and Sasha's generation, they have different attitudes about differences and race than mine, and certainly different from the generation before that. And each successive generation creates a new space for peace and tolerance and justice and fairness. And while we have work to do in many ways, we have surely become more tolerant and more just. More accepting, more willing to see our diversity in America not as something to fear. But as something to welcome because it's a source of our national strength. So as your leaders step forward to address your challenges through talks by all parties, they'll need you young people to keep pushing them, to create a space for them, to change attitudes. Because ultimately, whether your communities deal with the past and face the future united together, isn't something you have to wait for somebody else to do. That's a choice you have to make right now. It's within your power to bring about change. Whether you are a good neighbor to someone from the other side of past battles, that's up to you. Whether you treat them with the dignity and respect they deserve, that's up to you. Whether you let your kids play with kids who attend a different church, that's your decision. Whether you take a stand against violence and hatred, and tell extremists on both sides that no matter how many times they attack the peace, they will not succeed. That is in your hands. And whether you reach your own outstretched hand across dividing lines, across peace walls, to build trust in a spirit of respect, that's up to you. The terms of peace may be negotiated by political leaders, but the fate of peace is up to each of us. This peace in Northern Ireland has been tested over the past 15 years. It's been tested over the past year. It will be tested again. But remember something that President Clinton said when he spoke here in Belfast just a few weeks after the horrors of Omagh. That bomb, he said, was not the last bomb of the Troubles. It was the opening shot of a vicious attack on the peace. And whenever your peace is attacked, you will have to choose whether to respond with the same bravery that you've summoned so far, or whether you succumb to the worst instincts. Those impulses that kept this great land divided for too long. You'll have to choose whether to keep going forward, not backwards. And you should know that so long as you are moving forward, America will always stand by you as you do. We will keep working closely with leaders in Stormont. Dublin and Westminster to support your political progress. We'll keep working to strengthen our economies, including through efforts like the Broad. Economic initiative announced on Friday to unlock new opportunities for growth and investment. Between our two countries' businesses because jobs and opportunity are essential to peace. Our scientists will keep collaborating with yours in fields like nanotechnology. And clean energy and health care that make our lives better and fuel economic. Growth on both sides of the Atlantic because progress is essential to peace. And because knowledge and understanding is essential to peace, we will keep investing in programs that enrich. Both of us programs like the one at Belfast Metropolitan College, which teaches students from West End. North Belfast the skills they need for new jobs, and exchange programs that have given thousands in Northern. Ireland and the United States the chance to travel to each other's communities and learn from one another. Now, one of those young people is here today. Sylvia Gordon is the director of an organization called Groundwork Northern Ireland. Which aims to bring about change from the ground up. She's here somewhere. You're here, too, yes. Some guy just waved, he said, I'm here. Which is good, I appreciate you being here. As someone who got my start as a community organizer, I was so impressed with what Sylvia has done. Because a few years ago, Sylvia visited the United States to learn more about how Americans organize to improve their communities. So after she came home, Sylvia rolled up her sleeves here in Belfast and decided to do something about Alexandra Park. Some of you may know this park. For years, it was thought to be the only park in Europe still divided. By a wall. Think about that. In all of Europe, that one park has got a wall in the middle of it. Sylvia and her colleagues knew how hard it would be to do anything about a peace wall. But they reached out to the police, they reached out to the Department of Justice. They brought together people from across the communities. They knew it was going to be hard, but they tried anyway. And together, they all decided to build a gate to open that wall. And now, people can walk freely through the park and enjoy the sun when it comes out, just like people do every day in parks all around the world. A small bit of progress. But the fact that so far we've only got a gate open and the wall is still up means there's more work to do. And that's the work of your generation. As long as more walls still stand, we will need more people like Sylvia. We'll need more of you, young people, who imagine the world as it should be, who knock down walls. Who knock down barriers, who imagine something different and have the courage to make it happen. The courage to bring communities together. To make even the small impossibilities a shining example of what is possible. And that, more than anything, will shape what Northern Ireland looks like 15 years from now and beyond. All of you, every single young person here today, possess something the generation before yours did not. And that is an example to follow. When those who took a chance on peace got started, they didn't have a successful model to emulate. They didn't know how it would work. But they took a chance. And so far, it has succeeded. And the first steps are the hardest and requires the most courage. The rest, now, is up to you. Peace is indeed harder than war, the Irish author Colum McCann recently wrote. And its constant fragility is part of its beauty. A bullet need happen only once. But for peace to work we need to be reminded of its existence again and again and again.